Every man reaches a point where he realizes strength isn't about what he can lift, it's about what he can hold. His word, his focus, his emotions. That's when you start to understand what it actually means to become a man. You were born male, that's biology, but a man, a real man, that's something you have to forge. It's not handed to you, it's earned. And in today's world more than ever, we're forgetting that. I want to talk candidly about what it means to become a man. Not in the shallow, macho, fantasy way, but in the real way. Purpose, restraint, integrity, responsibility. And yes, I'll bring in semen retention, not as some mystical cure, but as a practical tool of self-control and focus. This is a conversation, so let's get into it. For years, I thought masculinity was about force, about having the biggest presence in the room, the loudest voice, the heaviest lifts. I chased that image. It worked sometimes, it failed other times. Over time, I learned the deeper thing that actually mattered. It wasn't about forcing the world to bend to me. It was about becoming a man who didn't need the world to tell him who he was. That change starts with restraint. If your impulses, your energy, your attention are scattered, you'll never build anything stable. I've met men who look powerful from the outside, the physique, the clothes, the cars, but they're hollow inside. They have the look, but lost the core. The real core is the quiet daily work, the standards you keep when no one's watching. Standards matter, not the standards society hands you, the be rich, be famous, be desired checklist, but the standards you hold yourself to. There's an inner line you refuse to cross. That line could be how you manage your time, how you treat people, how you use your energy. When you create that internal boundary, you stop leaking willpower into every trivial thing. You stop giving your life away in small, unnoticed transactions. Discipline shows up small. Getting up when your body wants another hour of sleep, switching the phone off for an hour so you can think, choosing a calm reply when your knee wants to snap back. Those tiny decisions stack into identity. That's the architecture of masculinity. One practice I experimented with and one I want to be honest about is semen retention. And that's something I talk a lot about on this channel. I'm not saying everyone should do it. I'm not preaching a dogma. I'm sharing what I tried, why I tried it, and what I noticed. Why retention? Because it's a practice of restraint. It's a physical daily way to train not to be a slave to impulse. Every time you release without purpose, you're handing away attention and energy. That energy is not only biochemical, it's symbolic. When you learn to hold it, even for periods, you learn you can hold yourself in other ways too. Your attention, your temper, your time. Now let's get scientific for a second, because I know how quickly this topic gets labelled as woo. There are real studies and they're nuanced. One peer-reviewed study titled Periodic Changes in Serum Testosterone Levels After Ejaculation in Men actually measured testosterone in men during periods of abstinence and found an interesting spike. On day 7 of abstinence, testosterone reached about 145.7% of baseline in that sample. That is measurable. It doesn't mean retention is a miracle, but it's a signal worth testing for yourself. There's also a systematic review, the impact of ejaculatory abstinence on semen analysis parameters, which looked across many papers and showed that longer abstinence tends to increase semen volume and total sperm count, but motility and DNA fragmentation results are mixed and sometimes trend the other way. That nuance matters. Retention changes the body, but it isn't a one-way ticket to better on every metric. More recently, a 2024 study, Effects of Long and Short-Term Ejaculatory Abstinence on Sperm Parameters, found that shorter abstinence was associated with better sperm motility and lower sperm DNA fragmentation, while longer abstinence tended to increase concentration. That means sometimes shorter windows are better for quality and longer windows increase quantity. That's important if you're thinking about fertility or experimenting more seriously. All of that is to say there's evidence showing abstinence and ejaculation timing change physiology. It's not black and white. The meaningful thing is how you personally respond. For me, practicing self-control around sexual release trained the same muscle as self-discipline in other areas. The tighter the boundaries I built there, the better I managed temptations elsewhere. My energy felt less scattered. I found it easier to finish projects and to sit with uncomfortable feelings instead of trying to soothe them away. But retention is only one tool. The masculine path is built from a constellation of practices. sleep, work, craft, relationships, confrontation with fear, and yes, restraint. And one key truth I want to stress, none of this is about perfection. The point is practice. You will fail, you will relapse, you'll binge, you'll scroll, you'll crack. The difference is how fast you get back up and whether you've built a system that supports the reset. There's another side to this people don't like talking about, mental health. Men are taught to be stoic, to bottle things up, to man up. That cultural script kills quietly. The evidence is clear. Men who are steeped into rigid masculine norms are less likely to seek help for depression and anxiety because those norms tell them vulnerability is weakness. One qualitative study, Masculinity and Help Seeking Among Men with Depression, explored men's experiences and showed how these norms create barriers to treatment. Another review shows the same pattern across many samples. Traditional masculinity correlates with negative attitudes towards help seeking, more self-stigma and less therapy uptake. That's not just softness versus toughness, it's practical. If you refuse to ask for help when you need it, your problems compound. That's not masculine strength, that's stubborn damage. So part of becoming a man is having the courage to be honest about your internal state, to put words on it, to get help when it's time, to hold yourself accountable. Vulnerability, paradoxically, is a crucial muscle for men who want to be solid, reliable leaders in their lives. There's also the loneliness problem. Men who prize self-reliance too highly can end up disconnected. A 2024 scoping review, Masculinity Norms and Their Internal Play with Loneliness and Social Connectedness among men in Western societies, found that norms emphasizing stoicism and independence can limit men's ability to form close social ties. That's why you see men who are physically strong and professionally successful, but emotionally isolated. That's an important nuance. You can build iron and lose your heart. You must cultivate brotherhood and connection as deliberately as you train. Find a handful of men who push you to be better. Don't default to, I can do this alone. Alone is brittle, community is sovereign. Remember to like, share and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.